Today we're going to be learning about a new type of story. So sit back, get ready, and listen to the story. Briar Fox Goes Hunting.
Brer Fox Goes Hunting, retold by S.E. Schlossler. Well, it was a crisp autumn day, don't you know, and Brer Fox had decided he wanted to go hunting. He made his peace with Brer Rabbit a few months ago, and he thought it would be a fine thing if they went hunting together. So Brer Fox stopped by Brer Rabbit's place and invited him to come along. "No, sir, Brer Fox," said Brer Rabbit. "I's tired today and intend to take it easy." Nothing Brer Fox could say changed his mind, so Brer Fox went hunting alone. And what a grand hunt it was! He ended up with a bag full of game and was whistling merrily as he headed down the road toward home. After spending a lazy day in his garden, Brer Rabbit was feeling a mite peckish and was wishing he had gone hunting with Brer Fox on account of all the good game he could be cooking up right this minute if he did. Then he got an idea. Maybe he could still get some of that game. Brer Rabbit went hunting down the road, running down the road in the direction of the woods, listening for Brer Fox. When he heard Brer Fox a-whistling as he trotted down the road, Brer Rabbit laid himself on the road and pretended to be dead. A moment later, Brer Fox rounded the bend and spotted the big fat bunny a-lying beside the road. Whoo-wee, did that rabbit look good! He was big and fat and round. Brer Fox poked at Brer Rabbit a bit and even turned him over. What a fat tummy he had! But then he shook his head and said, "I reckon this bunny's been dead a long time. He won't be good eating after all this time. I'd best leave him be." And Brer Fox went on down the road. As soon as he was gone, up jumped Brer Rabbit. He took a short cut through the meadow and got ahead of Brer Fox. Then he lay back down on the road and played dead again. Well, when Brer Fox saw a second fat dead rabbit, he decided he'd better do something about it. Chuckling with delight, he set down his heavy bag of game next to the dead Brer Rabbit and thrust him inside it. "I best run back and get that other fat bunny before somebody else does," Brer Fox said to himself. Leaving the heavy bag where it was, Brer Fox headed back to the place he'd seen the other rabbit. When Brer Fox was out of sight down the road, Brer Rabbit scrambled out of the bag and gathered up the game in his arms and ran home to make him some stew. A few minutes later, he saw Brer Fox stalking down the lane toward his house. He looked plenty mad, did Brer Fox. Brer Rabbit grinned and called to him, "How is your hunting, Brer Fox?" Brer Fox glared at him and said, "Not so great, Brer Rabbit. All my game has gone away on me." Brer Rabbit laughed and laughed at him. "Well, now that's too bad, but I just so happen to have a spare bag full of game right here. How about you sit down and have some stew with me?" "You rascal! I ought to make you
We
real
listen to
dead."
today, Briar Fox Goes Hunting, is a folk tale. Now, the unit we're going to be working on for the next couple of weeks, folk tales, fables, and myths, are Miss Ellis's favorite kinds of stories. Well, so let's talk about folk tales. Folk tales are cultural stories passed down through generations, usually orally, where the original author is unknown. So this is like a story that your grandmother may tell you that she heard when she was little, and so on and so forth. And it's cultural stories, so there may, we'll listen here, ones that are from like Africa, from Asia, from China, many different places around the world. So when we're listening to stories like this, there's a few things that we look for to be able to tell that it's a folk tale. And one of the very first things we look for is a trickster. Now think about what you think trickster might mean, just from the word you hear in there, right? What's the base word you hear? Trick, right? And what's a trick? Right, when you play with somebody or you do something to them as a joke. So the trickster is usually going to be an animal who plays some sort of trick. But of course, when you play a trick on somebody, you got to have the person that you play the trick on. And that person in this type of story is called the fool. And that is usually an animal who gets tricked. So the next part is a problem. There is always a problem in a folktale. Something is going on that is not going right. And then of course, what do you have to have when you have a problem? A solution. There has to be a way that the problem is solved. And the most important thing about a folktale is a lesson. And a lesson is what the author wants to learn. Every time you hear a folk tale, a fable, or a myth, there is going to be something that you learn. Remember last week when we read about the flies in the honey pot? And we learned from the flies in the honey pot not to be greedy? That was the lesson. So anytime we hear a folk tale, a fable, or a myth, there's going to be a lesson to be learned. So this week we're going to be doing one of Miss Ellis's favorite stories. I love this book. I've read it 100,000 times. We're going to be doing the story, The Tops and Bottoms. And what you're going to do is in just a moment, Miss Ellis is going to show you the cover page of Tops and Bottom. And you're going to use that cover page to make a prediction about our story. All right, now that you've looked at the cover of Tops and Bottoms, don't worry, you can go back and watch the video again if you need to look at it again. Now that you've watched Tops and Bottoms, you're going to get in your packet and pull out the paper that says Anticipation Guide for Tops and Bottoms. Miss Ellis on the board has written something very similar to it. You're going to do the before reading side. If you have Google Classroom and you've logged into the Google Classroom, this item is on Google Classroom. One side's orange, one side's green, and you'll just type in your answers. So what you're going to do is you're going to write the name of your folk tale. What's the name of our folk tale? It's the name of our story, Tops and Bottom. And as you're thinking about what you saw, you'll write down the trickster. Now remember, the trickster is the one playing the trick. Now I want you to remember, we haven't heard the story yet. We've only seen the cover page. So guess what? There's no right and wrong answer right now. I want you to use your noggins and what you know about these words to make a guess based on the cover. Don't forget our fool, that's the animal that's getting tricked. Take a guess at what our problem may be, and then also take a guess of what they may do to solve it. And last but not least, the most important part, what kind of lesson do you think the animals learn? All right, guys, now take everything you learned today and try it yourself. Good luck!